Are you facing the other way?
Yeah.
Bada
boom.
Good job.
Nailed it.
You're in sideways, or
Yeah, let's try
will that mess up the screen for others?
I don't think so. All right. And then let's go live right. I'm getting everything set up, guys. Can you see us? Okay.
I can understand all this.
Yeah, right. All right. And
That's the other way too. There you are.
there it is. You see okay?
Yeah.
All right. Hey guys, if you can hear us good, give us a thumbs up. This is Ken Lavin.
Michael Dunn.
All right. I'm with Winter Mud, Drilling Mud Company, and
Dunn Energy.
Dunn Energy. There you go. So we are going to touch base and give you guys a shout, kind of get everything set up. We're also going to it's our first time, so we're learning together for sure. So if you're on Facebook Live, give us a thumbs up, say hi as well. I'll pan around here. You can see everybody. Everybody say hi to everybody. Okay, so what we were going to talk about today was, all the different talks on Talk of Texas. I gotta do something right quick.
Your shout outs.
I gotta give my shout outs. Guys, I said I was going to do shout outs for everybody. So quick shout out to Kimberly Smith. Thank you very much for getting us on. This is awesome. We really, really appreciate it. Guys, check her out. She is amazing. Talk Texas Oil. Thank you guys as well. We really, really appreciate for us to get a chance to talk to everybody. This is awesome. Dunn Energy, Winter Mud. Thank you guys very, very much for coming, letting us do this. We're probably horrible at this, but that's okay. We're gonna make it through it. We got some awesome, awesome things that y'all are gonna love to hear about. I actually got a message. I'm gonna do this right here. Jeffrey Cooper, if you're listening right now,
There's your shout out.
here's your shout out right here. He says, can you put a plug in for me? I need a signed rig and I need a project like long term. Jeff, right there. That is you. Right there, Jeffrey. I'm putting it out there. There's your name, Jeffrey Cooper. Look him up, guys. He's looking for a rig. So, Virgil Rowland, checking you out. Want to find you a place as well. Brent Peoples, you are awesome. And Matt Hill, say hi to Little Cannon for us. He is awesome. So, just want to give a shout out to everybody. So, all right. That is the list. So what we wanted to talk about today was about when guys get laid off and, try and give you guys some encouragement, give you guys some peace and just kind of let you know what we've been through as individuals and discuss a little bit what we've gone through, where we've came from. And I've been through 6 of them.
That's more than me. I've got 2.
You got 2.
Yes.
And see, okay. And what's kind of cool about this, guys, is I'm actually from the service side. Always been on the service side.
I've always been on the operator side myself. So 2 different sides of the industry. Yeah.
So we can both relate to both entities. I mean, it is. And what's cool about this is actually.
You're blocking it.
Oh, that's okay. That
okay.
One's not on.
Oh, okay.
So the what's cool about this is we get to kind of show the not necessarily the disconnect, but kind of the disconnect between the service side, the operator side, and the disconnect within our own entities. Between the service side and operator side. So, let's just jump into it.
Okay. Do we have people are asking questions? Is that how it works?
Well, if people do bring up questions, yeah, we can do that too.
So I guess the first thing I would like to preface this conversation with is you're going to be hearing our stories and you're going to be hearing the path we took and recognize that there is no one size fits all and there is no black and white. Life is filled with gray, and even the paths that we chose had bumps in the road. And so you need to look at the specific situation you're in, and whether that has to do with you don't have as much of an emergency fund, or you don't have a spouse who also works. And so every situation is going to be different, and take what we're saying, use it as an opportunity to work within your equation. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure you're looking at your situation and finding the best answer for you.
Absolutely. I'll start with a personal experience. I mean, one of the first times I got laid off, we hadn't been married for very long. We were making double, triple, quadruple house payments. I mean, we were really getting after it, and we were really wanting to pay things off. We were still fairly new in the oil field, trying to get things going, and then literally it's like just overnight, just gone. Yes. And we're like, what do we do? You got the house, got the cars, you got the kiddos, you're good to go. And then just boom, that's it, And so it was a humbling experience. And did we learn the first time? No. We
learned things, but definitely did not learn it all. Absolutely.
No, it probably took the third, fourth time before I went, all right, I really don't need the big pickup. I really don't need the whatever, and there for a little bit, I had one time I actually did substitute teaching and help special needs kids. And man, you want to talk about an awesome experience. That was an awesome experience. And, just realizing that, it's okay to take a step back maybe from what we've done in the past, and maybe use that experiences that we've taught and we learned and all these different things to make us better. So
speaking of steps back, do you mind taking a step back and telling us a little bit about your background? Because we're asking people to take what we're saying with a grain of salt, because it was our specific situation. So what is your background leading to where you are today?
Okay, perfect example. So I started out, when I got into the oil and gas industry, literally I was shining bolts with a wire brush and WD-40, and literally was the lowest man on the totem pole for a coiled tubing crew. I started with Halliburton coiled tubing way back in the day, and that's all they let me touch. I had been a department manager for Home Depots before that. And, I was like, I'm running a department. I can run a budget. I've got this down. I don't need to be shining bolts, and I was like, I got this. And they literally multiple times like, I don't think so. We're not going to let you touch it.
So what year did you start in oil field?
I started in 03.
Okay, so 2003. All
right.
Yeah,
03, 04, right in there. Coiled tubing. Started in coiled tubing, got laid off. They'd shut everything down. Got picked up literally, which is another cool thing to think about, guys. Literally 30 minutes after I'd gotten laid off, I got a phone call.
Nice.
That's a big thing about the industry, guys. Everybody knows everybody. Huge help to each other, and we helped each other out. And literally 30 minutes after I'd gotten laid off, we were walking out of the office. I got a phone call. Got hired. Was in the field for a little bit. Became a technical.
I'll jump in there real quick.
Okay.
And we will end up pulling back this. I just want to put the bookmark out there, which is the value of networks and helping others.
Yes.
All right, continue on.
Yes. So please get on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Connect with Michael, myself. We're sending stuff out when we see jobs, when we see opportunities. We're trying to forward that on to everybody so people can know, because we didn't have the technology back then, so to speak, that we were involved with. So if you see stuff, definitely get involved. And we're trying to pump out as many things as we can find, job opportunities, which this kind of fast forward real quick. So you talked to, they're talking about plugging wells and doing things like that to try and get people bringing back to the workforce. Me being a drilling mud company, we do P&A stuff. So if we can get things really pumping and things going, maybe we as a company can help out as well to try and get people hired back.
So I know I sidetracked you a little bit, but
you did.
Coiled tubing, half hour later,
half an hour
Got
later,
a phone call.
got a phone call.
Right.
So now I am in a technical advisor position in coil tubing. I'm the tech guy. It took 5 years to move up through all that.
From the bolts to the tech advisor.
From the bolts to the tech guy,
Right.
you know, and then finally become a, technical sales advisor. Then moved up to a district manager, which I see one of my guys is on right now.
Nice.
They used to work with me, amazing guy, Stephen Moore. So and then became a district manager, ran an awesome district. We did like $1 million a month. We did amazing. Everything was going great. Then they ended up shutting down the district, ended up getting laid off, moved over to a technical advisor for Key Energy, and was there for several years. Loved working with them, and then shut down again. And that one was, that one was the hardest one. I actually was there for, I nearly was laid off for nearly a year.
Okay.
A solid year.
So it was the hardest one because of the duration of unemployment.
Yeah,
All right.
The duration was horrid. It was absolutely horrid, and that was the one that really wised us up, because we were so used to the industry, bouncing back so quickly, and just, okay, we'll come with something else. And literally a year later, and this is a good learning point. A year later, I took a position in frac and was the lowest green hat in frac. District manager, frac at the very bottom.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that because I knew that it was taking care of my family. I was able an opportunity to, pay our bills and get things going. I was gone all the time. Every 2 weeks, I was constantly gone. We worked, 12, 14-hour days. It was rough, guys out there. I know exactly. You guys work your butts off. But I took that very low position because I had to. I just needed to. I needed to take care of the family. So it was a humbling experience, but it was an awesome experience to get out there and get back going into it again.
Another bookmark, humility.
That's right.
Okay, we'll come back to it.
Okay, very much so. He's very, very right. And then after that, was that for that nearly almost 3 years, like 2.5 years. And then I got an opportunity to go to college. And because I just really wasn't, that's something I noticed during that whole year, I couldn't get in with these jobs. I couldn't get hired because the standards had raised so high with, you have to have a college degree. I'd go into these interviews, even for almost a lower position. And I was like, well, I've done all these things. Here's my resume. And they would say, do you have a degree? And I was like, no, but I've got the School of Hard Knocks. I can work my butt in the ground. And they're like, man, we want a degree.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so it pushed me to go back to school. And that's when I finally got the opportunity to go back to school. I'm actually will be done in August of 2021. So yes, if you're going to school right now, we support you 100%. And because, man, I've been there, but it's, I hate to say it's the new standard or the new norm, but a lot of companies are doing that. I mean,
So for those that are watching this, it would be interesting to see your opinions. Before we started this broadcast this morning, we were discussing the pros and cons of the degree approach and those requirements, almost an inflation that's occurring within the job market. Mm-hmm. And on the other side of the equation is the operational and the field guys. And so there's pros and cons that we can lay out there for both of those, but I'm curious to see what our audience thinks, and maybe they can pop up some good questions on that.
Absolutely.
So you went to school. Now you currently work for Winter Mud. So when did you come on to Winter Mud? Or am I skipping a layoff in there? I don't want to miss any layoffs.
Yep. Had a short little stint with a little company that got a buyout, and then I ended up with another layoff, which ties into another thing. Apparently I have all the fun stories, right? So during that layoff, and this is another bookmark, he brings a good point, a good bookmark. is that during that time of layoff, trying to get jobs, going back to school, I ended up starting a YouTube channel, and it was ended up being right at the summer. It was June, July, and I was like, I had an opportunity to spend time with my son, who's 15 and a half, who just literally walked by a little bit ago. I know. I should have panned around. Everybody could say hi. But I wanted something to get a chance to connect with my kids. Being gone in the oil fields, we're always busy. We're always, never get that opportunity to be with our families. And so I started the YouTube channel, Outdoor Ventures LLC, and set it up as a company, which you can do with the state of Oklahoma, which is super, super simple. It's an easy process. He can probably talk about it more about the tax benefits. There's a whole lot of benefits to it. But during that downtime, I was able to start and get time to spend more time with my kids and my family. So, yeah. But then started with winter, end of September, October.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you spent time on the coiled tubing side, the frac side, and the mud side.
And the mud side.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll give my background. I have not been, should be left-handed.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, do it left-handed.
There we go. Hold on, we're getting there. All right. I've taken a little bit less conventional path, like many of us have, and all the way from high school dropout to college dropout to.
Wait. Did you say high school dropout?
I did say high school dropout.
Did y'all hear that, guys? That's awesome.
Well,
I mean, that's motivation.
Let's be careful.
Well, look, you started down here. I mean, in most people's standards, it's like, oh, I'm a high school dropout. I can't go any farther. I can't do any more. And look.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
Don't allow yourself to be limited by poor decisions. A little bit of a side rant here, but I feel that each poor decision a person makes is like a shovel of dirt in a hole, or out of hole, digging dirt. And so each poor decision we make is going to lead to that hole being a little bit larger. And I think that some people have a tendency to think, just because I realize the error of my ways and I admit that was the wrong decision, that hole is automatically filled in and I'm back at surface, or I'm back up on the rungs of the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And regretfully, that's not the case. You dug a hole, you made poor decisions, and like it or not, you've got to get yourself out of the hole. You've got to fill the hole back in. There's a lot of energy and effort that goes into trying to overcome those mistakes. So anyway, yes, high school dropout, college dropout. I ended up working manual labor jobs and ended up starting my oil field career in 1998. I worked for a casing crew.
No.
I did. Actually, my very first oil field job was casing crew, and I had no family in oil field that I spent any time around. I had no knowledge of oil field. And so casing crew, did that for a short bit, then was able to get myself on a drilling rig, which I was very appreciative of. I spent about 5 years on the rigs in Colorado working for neighbors.
Okay.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. I was trying not to be company specific.
Working for a drilling contractor.
Oh my goodness.
Ignore you said that.
Hey, all our neighbors, guys, you can say
yes.
that.
Hey guys. And after 5 years on the rigs, decided that wasn't what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and went to college. So quit the rigs. At that time, I was 23, 24.
You're too old to remember.
I know. But then essentially you talk about having to fill that hole in as a result of making poor decisions. And one of the big sacrifices I had to make was quitting a job that had very good income, especially for my age at that time. And I moved out of state to go back to living at home for a short bit, and went back to school. So went back to school and ended up graduating with a degree in engineering, mechanical engineering, and started working for Unit Petroleum. Did it again.
Oh, no, it's okay. That's good.
Right. It's on my LinkedIn profile. So
it is.
Right now. Anyhow, spent
all our Unit guys.
There we go. Hey guys, 10 years at Unit and working in a variety of drilling, completions, production. Very, very small amount of reservoir, but the entire time was working for operators. My first layoff was in 2015. You touched on it, and I've got it bookmarked on my notes here. But humility, it was a very humbling situation for someone to say your services are no longer needed.
Oh man, that
And
was.
you try not to be egotistical. Ego is really the bane of our existence. But at the end of the day, how could they lay me off of all the options out there and of all the people I work with? And you go through the mental Rolodex in your head, which is not a good thing, but it's what happened, and it's what happens for a lot of us. And so first layoff, immediately start putting things on the market. Don't know how long I'll be laid off for. I just bought my first new car and sold it within about a week. Only thing I had left with payments was the house. Had the house on the market, and I was unemployed for 9 months.
Oh man.
And ended up finding a job outside of the industry that moved me across the state.
Okay.
So thankfully, I had the degree in mechanical engineering, which transfers to a lot of industries. And I know that some people within the oil and gas industry, there's some degrees that are a little more specific to oil and gas, and there's some challenges, but we will talk about transferable skills. And I worked outside of the industry for a couple of years and ended up coming back to work for another operator. And within that operator, I was a lot more involved. I had zero operational responsibilities, which was the first time my phone didn't ring in the middle of the night for over a decade, and that was very, very appreciated. And you start realizing
it's appreciative, but man, I do miss it. Like I don't know. It's kind of like guys that are in military. They're like, oh, I miss that opportunity of being with my guys and getting to hear stuff and getting to, I don't know. Whenever you hated to have situations that would come up, but it was sure nice whenever you could complete them because you felt like a hero, like
absolutely.
superstar. You were just like. So there's not a lot of industries that have that yeah moment,
Exactly.
and so I agree with you. That there's when I was laid off, I was just like, no phone calls. This is great,
Yes.
And then I was like, I sure miss my phone call.
I still have some of my consultants who I speak with, and they tease me even to this day about some of the comments I'd make when they'd wake me up, and I complain that they never did come over and walk the dog or do the dishes. So you get woke up out of a dead sleep, but at the same time, as the guy who's receiving the phone calls, it's easy to poke fun at that and make jokes and talk about the hardships that occur from being woke up out of a dead sleep. But the fact is, especially when we're talking back then, the consultants didn't always work with 12-hour towers. And so I know that the sacrifices made by the field and the operations guys was orders of magnitude higher than the 2 or 3 or the 4 phone calls I might get on a tough night, and going to the office an hour or two early, or excuse me, an hour too early or an hour too late. Early if you need to get information and have conversations, and late if you got the situation settled. But anyway, the level of effort and energy and the lack of sleep, the lack of family that those field guys put forth is astronomical to this industry, and the industry couldn't be successful without those sacrifices. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you to the field guys that have kicked butt. I have guys on location right now. If y'all are watching,
Get back to work.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
He'll post my address later.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna go front. No, but that's guys. Thank y'all for what y'all do. You have no idea what y'all are doing. It's amazing. And again, it's where I came from. It's where I started. I believe in it 100%. You have to have all the different levels, and it takes a humility and a special individuals to do what they do.
Sure.
So, but anyway,
okay.
Back to
worked for another operator. I was able to get a role that it was interesting because it utilized all of my past experience, but had no operational responsibilities. And so I was a lot more involved in the planning strategy, was a lot more involved in the finance side, which was the first exposure for me working for an operator. And
I'm about to take finance class.
It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And so at the end of the day, I was exposed to layoff number 2 last year, and that was when they closed the Oklahoma City office. And so layoff 2, one of the benefits of that one, glass half full, is I had, I think, a 9-month heads up that it was occurring. And
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna do a quick side thing. If you have a service company, for the service company side, this is something I see a lot in the on the operator side. Y'all always seem to get a really good heads up with when layoffs are coming, kind of things like that. Service side, you don't get to see that a lot. You just kind of hear of the check being handed through the thing or the whatever, and
door key doesn't work.
or it's broken off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, man, that's definitely something I'd love to see service companies maybe pick up. Of like, hey, it's these guys are great workers. They've done all this great work for you. Hey, give them a heads up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I agree it's a problem, but the solution I think is very challenging.
It is,
because at the end of the day, and since I only have exposure to 2 layoffs, I can't say I have a ton of data points, but when you have a company that's bleeding cash and the service side is when things start slowing down, rigs start dropping, the service side is just, your revenue plummets. And so
we're having to work off of what you guys are going to.
Absolutely.
And then y'all are working off the whole price. So anyway, we will, yes.
so layoff number 2, in there, after layoff number 2, I just, I think I had the baby a couple of weeks after the layoff.
Oh.
When the baby was due.
Oh.
And so bringing back to the humility bookmark that we were talking about, I was able to transition from being the primary worker and not being the primary caretaker. Then, of course, my wife there's a divorce in there, so without getting too personal, but my current wife also works in the industry, and so she still has employment within the industry, thank goodness. But the humility that comes with being a stay-at-home dad with a newborn.
Hey,
and
I'm good at stay-at-home dad. Honey,
the diaper sounds dirty. Yeah. I know, I recognize that cry.
Yeah.
But the humility that comes with taking on those transitions, and it's not a natural fit for me. I am man enough to admit that. I know it may not be the PC thing to say, but it's not the most natural fit for me. And if I had a choice between going to work 8 to 5 and staying home to care for the baby, I would get rid of that.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Okay. I would choose to go to work. That doesn't mean I don't love my child any less. It doesn't mean that those who choose to stay at home, that's not an amazing sacrifice, and they're doing amazing things. So thank you for those.
Yeah, and ladies that are at home taking care of their families, awesome.
Absolutely.
And then the ladies that are busting butts and at the actual locations, give a big shout out for you ladies that are working in the industry, not in the industry, wherever you're at, what you're doing, helping to support, because whenever the guys and the girls, ladies getting laid off, everybody who's getting laid off, someone's having to pick up the slack in a relationship, and be there for each other, support each other, man. I gotta give a big shout out to my wife. She's been a rock. She's been awesome. She's put up with this ugly mug. There you go. It just, if I hadn't had the support, and not only just within the family, extended family, and like yourself, friends, keep that support going. I go off on a little tangent here talking about support. Remember the thing I was telling you about the guy on LinkedIn? There was a guy on LinkedIn. I never met the guy. I'm not even connected with him. Never saw him, but he had posted something on LinkedIn. He had just gotten laid off during all this going on, and man, just put out the just most sad message of he was basically done with everything. He was just done with life. He was done with everything. It felt like he'd lost everything. And I actually reached out to him. Like I said, I reached out to this guy who I never knew, never nothing, but he had been in the industry. And I was just like, hey, I sent him a private message. I said, hey, man, I don't do what you're saying in your message. Please stay with it. Stay tough. Stay strong. Be in there, because I'm here, man. I'm praying for you. everybody, there's multiple people we can have pray for you. Anything you need, call me, let me know. I don't care what time it is, call me. I'm going to support you, man. And so it was, I never heard back from the guy. I wish I had a cool ending to that
So
story.
he never responded?
No, never responded, nothing. And, I hope that everything went well, but I just want to put that out there. You see that, or you hear that, or, amongst these guys that are being laid off, reach out, support them, call them up. If they need somebody to go fishing with, they need somebody to take them skateboarding, whatever. Get out, get them, get their mindset right, get them back in the mood. Oil field workers are tough, man. We work hard, long hours, long days, long nights, phone calls in the middle of the night. We're tougher than this. We're tougher than this situation. We're tougher than COVID. We're tougher than all of that. So just get them back in there, support them, show them that, hey, we're here for you. We're gonna do it. So.
Very last chapter, I guess, or to get us up to current, and I intentionally saved it for last, but when I was laid off in 2015, I told you I sold the car, put the house on the market, moved across state for a job 9 months later. But one of the things I did at that same time was I started Dunn Energy. Dunn Energy, it's always been essentially a part-time deal for me, but at the end of the day, I invest in oil and gas wells. Early on, I did quite a bit of consulting work for other small operators, and the knowledge I've gained and what I've learned about business, what I've learned about the operator side, what I've learned about the non-op side, the land side, even when you're working for an operator, there's oftentimes a very, very large disconnect between the different groups. You got the drilling guys, you've got the completion, the production, the land, the division orders, the legal, the land. I said some of that already, but at the end of the day, there's a huge disconnect that occurs out there. And oftentimes the drilling guys don't understand why the completion guys are complaining about this thing, or the completion guys just think the drilling guys don't know what they're doing. And it's
No, not at all.
But at the end of the day, I'm a very strong believer in trying to bridge those gaps and trying to understand not just your little slice of the pie, but understand how does the overall equation fit together, and how do my actions as a drilling guy or a completions guy, how do my drilling actions affect the completions and production? Some very, very simple examples of that are going to be, do you displace your cement with mud or water? Do you put a large dog leg in the wellbore? That there's so many things we can do on the drilling side, and I can sit there and show you the economics that, look, on the drilling side, my AFE costs, I saved money. But at the end of the day, that money is being spent on the flip side because someone's trying to get the wellbore back in shape for what they need. Or sometimes, as an example, for the dog legs are getting big kinks or too aggressive of a curve, it's going to impact the cost of that well for the rest of its life. So,
and us on the service side, we need to
absolutely
have good communication too, as well with you guys. So that's throwing that in there.
Sure.
Little tidbit.
But it's interesting because oftentimes I unless you're going out and intentionally and proactively having the conversations, and I'll preface part of this depends on company culture and how well the different departments and management and leadership are communicating. But I realized that oftentimes someone was trying to overcome challenges I created for a long time, whether it's months or sometimes years. They're still trying to, every time they know, they're trying to, we know when we go out to so-and-so's locations, we're going to have to do these couple of extra things because so-and-so does this thing that is kind of stupid, but he doesn't know any better. And you realize, I didn't realize we were doing that. So go out there, proactively talk to your teammates, and teammates being other parts of the company. And is there something I can do that will help make things better for you or the next guy in line or the next guy in line? And
you could tie that in with whenever when these guys are getting back to work or taking positions, don't realize that there's a lot. Senator Langford, say hi to you there. I was on one of his calls and he mentioned, typically Oklahoma only has like 1,500 to 2,000 people call in a week for being laid off. He said that they're currently at 45,000 a week, 45,000 a week, and they were at a high of nearly 70,000 1 week of people calling in. So what I'm trying to tie that in with is that when you're going back and you're applying for stuff and whatnot, realize that we may not be back in the same position that we were before. You know, I may not be a district manager anymore. I may be, you know, I may be the tool guy. I just may be the operator again.
Sure.
Because there's so many people flooding the market. But I want to tie that back into the communication is when you are at where you're at, use that opportunity, because you kind of mentioned this earlier, use that opportunity to help that guy that's shining the bolts, me, you know, nurture that guy into learning something new. Yeah, you may have been this position or whatever. Now help this guy to become better. And I think if we can just help each other become better, it's going to help in the long run.
Absolutely. The value of our networks, and I think that some people, again, always, you try not to use the word all people or always type of deal, but some people have a tendency to look at the networks of how can they help me and what can I gain out of this. And I think it's very important to look at your networks as more of an opportunity for you to help others. But then if something happens to come positive out of that for you and you end up benefiting, that's absolutely amazing and that's a good thing and you absolutely appreciate it. But I think it's wrong to approach, and you're not going to get very far if you approach your networks with a one-sided approach.
Absolutely.
And so Matt Hill, sure, absolutely, bring him on. We're going to bring on Matt Hill.
Hey, Matt.
The man, the legend.
Can you hear us?
I love everything you're talking about. You guys always do a great job. You're two of the best people I know on the planet. And I just want to tell everybody that's listening or who's going to get to listen to this as we promote both of everything you guys have to say is there's really two great people who you really need to listen to as often as you can. And don't forget, hey, Kevin and Michael, make sure you plug Michael's venture in the oil field fundamentals. There's so many people that have so much to learn about. Just Michael's done always a great job of scratching the surface for people people who want to get interested in oil and gas and what we do. And one thing Michael Dunn taught me and Ken as well is, networking and all of us coming together. Networking isn't really about what you can get off of somebody else and what they can do for you. It's what you can help them with and further their career.
So thanks for that, Matt. I definitely agree and appreciate it. And you were cutting out just a little bit on that, but one of the things Matt mentioned there was the oil and gas fundamentals. The oil and gas fundamentals had its first meeting, was it March, February, January? It was before COVID, because I know that the second meeting has been postponed as a result of COVID. It was right at the beginning of all of that. But oil and gas fundamentals is occurred in the Oklahoma City area, and it was an opportunity, for those who have an interest in learning about drilling to say, here is drilling 101. And the topic for the first meeting being drilling, and that's most of my specialty, but we were able to explain the drilling process and why we make certain decisions, what are some of the challenges we're trying to prepare for, and the subsequent meetings, which will be starting up here pretty soon now that the COVID's starting to hopefully
subside.
Thank you. And so the next topic might be the land side, it might be the completions production, but the goal is for each meeting to have a topic that is intended for, if it's a drilling meeting, I don't expect drilling guys to come to it because it's going to be so fundamental that they won't come out of it learning much. But anyone who is not drilling, who has an interest in drilling, would learn a lot from it. and subsequent meetings may be completions, production, reservoir, the finance side. There's a lot of topics that occur or within the operator in those companies. There's tons of people in there, and they each have their job. And we alluded to it earlier in this phone call. Is that working still?
I think so. Yep. And
Okay.
then,
All right.
yeah, and he brings up a good point, and I'll, hey, Josh and Don, good to see you, Don Roars. Say what's up. So the another drilling person, she's awesome. But yeah, so you bring up a good point, and I was going to say, service guys, don't hesitate to come to these things. The SPE, the AADE, to learn, to help with that. Some of us, may have been from the industry and have crossed over to the service side, or vice versa, and already have that experience. But I'm telling you, like, I've been to a couple of their things. Man, I've learned so much from those too, to learn new terminology, learn, and we're mixing this instead of this. We were talking about that earlier. There's steps to different things, and learning different basins. That's a big thing too. Is getting learning the different basins, learning what's going on. Because me as a service company, yeah, we want to expand in a service, in other areas as well. But for us to do that, we need to be able to learn about the different basins and get the opportunity from the operators. Like, hey, we do amazing work here or there or whatever, but help us out in these other areas because we want to continue on and expand and whatever. So come to these things. It'll help you out a lot.
Sure.
And the networking.
Another thing I've some of the places I've been most helped by the vendors and the sales that occur is when they have, say for example, you're a mud expert or you are a coiled tubing expert. I'm not good at that.
Oh, no, you're right. He's talking about Delaware Basin.
And there's times where I've had salesmen come into the office and because they had more knowledge than just their expertise, and they were able to say that this may not be on your radar, but it's a problem upstream of you. Mm-hmm. And here's a solution that allows you to proactively account for that. And just like on the operator side, we have the drilling guys who may not understand the problems they're creating for the completions or production guys. And I think that the more educated the vendors are about not just their specialty, because they are most certainly a specialist in that slice of the pie, but understanding how it all plays together. Mm-hmm. And they're able to find better solutions and able to better predict problems. And all of that leads to better operations, more economical wells, less overages. Mm-hmm. And when we start talking about what rigs get dropped or what areas are economical and not, a lot of it has to do with how many problems do we have on this rig. Is this a problem that's consistently spot on days, mm-hmm. or they're shaving a little off here and there? Or do you have the rig that's either feast or famine, where it cuts 5 days off, but then it's 2 weeks over because they had a huge fishing job because they made a poor decision in there and got stuck. Mm-hmm. So the more educated we all are about the overall equation, I think it allows us to find better solutions and benefit the industry.
And I'll take that and come back to the he's talking about better solutions, better, tie that in with the layoff right now. If that's what you're going through right now and that's your situation, tie that in. Yeah, see if that'll work. Try it out.
I don't think it's deep enough.
Oh, okay. I'll hold it. So, but yeah, no, that's, be okay with going back to school. There's online schools. I don't know if I can necessarily plug a certain school. No need to, but there's online schools out there. Man, I'm doing an accelerated one. It's literally you're taking a new subject every 5 weeks. Bam, 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 bam. And going through the summer, things like that. And just realize that there you can do it. You can do one class a month. You can do one class every 2 months. You can do you can skip the summers. You can do it at the pace that you feel comfortable. So don't feel like that you can't. Somebody just reached out real quick, sidebar real quick. They want to know how they can get in touch with us. So I was going to put it out there. So Ken Lavin, you can reach me at kenlavin.wintermud@gmail.com. You can reach me on my cell phone, 580-656-5486. And then you can also send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm constantly on LinkedIn. I really like that platform because you kind of get to see the person that you're working with. Plus, you also get to see my background and you get to see who you're working with. And it's, I don't know, it's just more of a real setting, so to speak. I just like that platform for that reason. So hit me up on LinkedIn. I have like 6,000 and some odd connections that I'm constantly trying to send information to. And every time y'all connect with me, you'll laugh at this. Every time someone connects with me, I send them a personal message. Like
Good for you.
every
Good
one
for
of
you.
them, I always send a personal message like, hey, thanks for connecting, or thank you for accepting my invitation. Which same for you guys. Whenever you're connecting and you're networking, make sure to send a message to the people and say, hey, thanks for accepting my invitation. I'll even say if there's something my company can do for you guys, let me know. We'll help out. Whatever. So that's for me for probably the best connecting with me contact wise.
I'd say for me, LinkedIn is something I'm relatively active on also, so that's a really good way. Michael Dunn with Dunn Energy, and track me down. I respond to all messages, or at least do my best to respond. Sometimes if the box gets full pretty quick, but I do my best to respond. And question for you, Ken. You mentioned your schooling and how that's a good option for people that are looking to take that next step, or even if you're just trying to overcome some of the requirements inflation that occurs in the job markets. How would you say you're partway through your degree program? So is there anything that you would say is a big takeaway, or this is really relevant to that next step for you right now?
Absolutely. So something that I can say because the way things are going with not necessarily just our industry, with all industries, about the with the schooling and with how companies are like, hey, you have to have a degree and things like that. With that, it has opened up a lot of doors. I've had a lot more companies send me invites, invitations. Hey, like I just finished my associate's degree part of it. To me, I thought, it had to be the full, the full 4-year degree, to really woo somebody. And I've gotten a ton of support just for the associate's part
It's
alone.
a step, absolutely.
It's a huge step.
And it matters. I mean, you're gaining skills, you're gaining knowledge, you're gaining value. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so guys, just realize that if you only have time for just the associates right now, and you come back later to get the bachelor's, and then you later go back and get the master's or the doctorate, or however crazy you want to go. How about that? Just realize it really does, with the new markets and with the new entity that people are saying we have to have a degree. It really is. Any step is beneficial. It shows, like I think you were starting to talk about that. It shows a commitment. It shows that you're dedicated. It shows that you can stick with it and that you can continue on. So I really promote that. Yeah.
I also, one of the things, and I'm working on my MBA. I'll be done early next year. And,
what?
Yep.
What? Okay, y'all heard it here live.
And we were talking about how a vendor should understand more than just their facet, and an operator should understand more than just their drilling specialty or their completion specialty or land regulatory. And in my mind, the degree programs, whatever it is going to teach you something, and the odds are 95% of it may or may not be relevant, but there's going to be a few little big takeaways that actually change the way you approach a problem or change the way you look at a certain situation, which is going to impact how you react as a result of the situation. And building those steps. And it's not just about college education, it's about experience. And that experience could stem from the field or operational side. That experience could stem from the office side, the experience could stem from a college or extracurricular classes, whether it's SPE, actual college. So there's so many places to gain this knowledge.
Ooh,
And
real quick, sorry, side note, you just brought up a good point. Guys, when you do go to these extra trainings, I know SPE does it. Man, I've got one over here. I should show it. They actually, yes, you actually get certificates for college hours, guys, and college credit. The current
track it.
Yes, get one of those pieces of paper, guys, when you go to these trainings. Somebody mentioned AADE as well. Guys, I'm getting those, and I actually submitted those to my school, and they're like, guys, this is great.
It matters, absolutely.
It really matters, and it goes towards my my degree program. So that's another great point. I'm sorry, you just made me think of that. I was
I'm
like,
glad. Along that lines, within LinkedIn, there is a place on there where you can document your classes. And for me, at least, I'm a list and note taker. And I know that when it comes time to freshen up your resume because you're laid off again, then trying to go back and remember each of those classes, who was the instructor, what year was it? And so I try to just document them as I go along. Go on LinkedIn, put it on, there's a section that's towards the bottom of your profile. And so anyhow, but I think knowledge is power, and take this opportunity if you're laid off. If you're not, if you're laid off, you may have a little more time, but you're also going to have a little more stress. And try to grow.
You mentioned something else about the resumes. Yes, so something about the resumes, something that I had, which there's a lot of scams out there, so be careful, do your homework, look back on this. I actually had somebody build my resume. A professional resume person reached out to me. I checked into them. They checked out. They're really good. And they actually wrote my resume like I wrote it initially, got it as best as what I thought I could do. And my wife, thank you, by the way, you were awesome. But then I sent it to them, and they were like, hey, you really need to change this. You need to do this. You need to do that. And, there's some that are free, and there's some that you can pay upwards of $200 to a lot of money. We'll just put it that way. But look into those within reason, but look into those. Those things are great to use. I know I used one personally, and it made leaps and bounds because.
That's good to hear. I've had mixed. I've never used them, so I've had mixed opinions about it.
Yeah, and what's weird is interesting is that they actually use verbiage that. So now with new technology, there's so many people applying to jobs right now that they're looking for keywords, and if you don't have those keywords that spike their little thing when they're scanning your resume, it's almost like a voter card. The ID card, or like back in the day when we used to. It's just like that. They're just sending in resumes 100 mile an hour, and so you're not. If you don't have the keywords that they're looking for, you're going to be missed. Tinker. Shout out to them. Great place. I've seen a couple of engineers go over there, by the way. So if y'all haven't looked up Tinker, look into them. But it's interesting that they literally want like a Bible. Like it's huge Bible of information. And they want you to spell out every little thing that you did in your thing. And these resume builders, again, make sure to look into them. Make sure you get a good one. But it will literally change the way you can get hired.
So this is going to move into another area that I've learned some about lately, which is when you are inputting your resume into those systems, there's a lot of details that, to me, I look at my resume on the computer screen, you check for misspelled, you check for vocab language, grammar, yes, yes.
Grammarly, it's free. Grab it.
You print it off, you give it to your wife or your significant other, and hey, read this over, and you change a few things, and then you submit it. And realizing that just as much as whether you have information up in the header, those systems may completely ignore anything in the header. So if you are trying to fit all this information into the 2 pages or the 3 pages of your resume, and so you start messing with your your formatting and you push information up into the header, then you may end up submitting a resume that it doesn't actually know who it belongs to, or it doesn't save your email address or your phone number. And so this is going to transition into one of the points or bookmarks I have in my notes, which is recognize what your expertise is and what it's not. The odds are most of what we do is something we're not really an expert in. And so if you are in a strange place in life, you're laid off, you're trying to find work, or you're in uncharted territories for yourself, don't hesitate to research and try to make sure you better understand the waters you're heading into. If that means that you pay someone a couple $100s to take care of a resume, you know, I know it can be a challenge if you're laid off and don't have the emergency fund that's plump, nice and plump for 6 months, but it could be the difference between getting through those automated systems and not, which could be the difference between getting that phone call, which is the interview, which is the job. And so just recognize and be willing to admit that you don't know a whole lot here and you need to learn a little more, and be willing to find the expert advice. Thankfully, with the World Wide Web where it is now, it's not that hard to find a lot of advice, but I can sit here and give someone a beginner's example on finance or accounting, but it doesn't mean you're going to fully comprehend all of it and understand the way all the pieces of the puzzle works. And that is sometimes where actually paying for expert advice.
Yeah, don't be afraid to feel vulnerable during an interview too, and just saying that you don't know that position, you know, or you don't know that situation, you know, because you can look at the job description multiple times, and you may never see, you know, you may never get all the points. You know, you try and do your homework before you do the interview and everything, and then they throw a curveball at you and you're just like, you know, and you're like, what do I say? You know, do I use an industry?
Take a drink of water.
Yes. Take a drink. Let me get a drink. Hold on a second. I'm like, is that water? So just be vulnerable, be honest, and just say, you know, I honestly don't know, but this is what I like to see, and what I've learned over the years is just say, but I'm willing to find out, and I will let you know.
Yeah.
Just taking the initiative to try and find the answer. Say, I don't know the answer. Be humble about knowing that you don't know the answer, and then boom, saying but I will find it out.
You know, it's the humility and the ego oftentimes intertwine. And I mentioned earlier that ego is the bane of our existence. We all are guilty of it. I don't want to pretend to be above it.
I'm guilty.
I sit there and think about the millions of dollars I've seen spent within the oil and gas industry because someone knew exactly what the problem was, or someone was unwilling to admit that when a certain problem, you know, say for example that they start getting tight hole and they pull into it. And some of this is before the Payson days. You can put on your.
He said Payson days. Payson days.
3-pin geolograph, is that what they were called?
Oh my gosh! Right.
Anyhow, I've sat there and been the victim of. I've probably been guilty of. I'm sure I have, and I've seen it as a bystander many times where people are unwilling to admit when they're wrong, unwilling to admit when they need to back up and take a detour, or just unwilling to admit when they don't understand or don't know. And I realize in the oil and gas industry, it's easy to sit there and put dollar figures on some of those mistakes. You were at the overage, or you spent this million, $3 million fishing, or 30% over. But the same thing applies to our real lives and our day-to-day lives, which is recognize that when you don't know, admitting it and trying to, whether it's a close friend or understand, you know, even just as much as when I was first laid off, my first layoff, and you go through the emotions, you go through the anger, the sadness, the ego, how can they, and you go through all that. But at the end of the day, one of the things I did is I went to a couple of really close friends and just asked really sincerely, really honestly, really openly, where do I suck? Where do I need to improve? And
it's a good reflection.
It's hard. it's good, but it's very hard. And
Sucker punch.
and for those that are going through layoffs or that have some life event that's causing you to reflect, normally growth is rarely easy. You have athletes who are trying to grow muscles and get better skills, and that requires pain most of the time. And the same thing occurs up here and in our hearts, and trying to, if you have something that's kicking you in the behind right now, and you're trying to maximize what you gain out of this, then a little introspection, a few honest conversations with some trusted friends or a trusted spouse, take advantage of it and try to find resources to improve those. And when I moved across state, and I was basically taking a 5-hour one-way trip, so 10 hours each way, twice a weekend, every other weekend, for some personal reasons. But I was doing that for a couple of years. And one of the things that came out of that was a lot of windshield time,
and a lot of
a lot of
process.
Podcast, and I grew a lot, and it helped me more than I can even relay through words, how much that's helped me grow and how much it helped me with future jobs, how much it's changed who I am, because I was sitting there reflecting, realizing I can improve here, I fell short here, however it is you want to do, glass half full, glass half empty. But just try to realize honestly where you fall short. Now, in saying all of that, there's a very, very big difference between sitting there and beating yourself up and essentially going into some type of depression or, degrees of. There's a very big difference between realizing where you fall short and beating yourself up for the next 10 years.
Amen.
And so don't take it too far. Just, it's not, I'm not saying be superficial with it. You want to have true introspection, but once you've reached some conclusions, okay, I can grow. Tomorrow's a new day. I can lay a new brick, and I can start filling in that hole, talking about the hole analogy, and I can improve.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the, we had been talking a little earlier beforehand. You mentioned something about the cracks in your foundation. And, what's interesting about that, so many people think that these cracks or these job layoffs, so to speak, is like, that's it. Like that was their MO. That was what they were known for. I was the drilling master. I was the cold tubing master. I was the bolt shiner guy. I was the best at what I did. And you lost that piece of you, so to speak, and just realized that that's only a piece. And I love how you said it. It's only a piece of the foundation. Don't let that one piece of the foundation that was your job changed everything else, with your kids, with your wife, with your family. Don't let that tear that down. Realize that you know what? That's just a small little part. Let that piece go. And guess what? You may not have the salary that supposedly fits that puzzle piece that you just lost, or that piece of foundation. It may be a shorter foundation. It may be a taller foundation.
Sure.
You never know. So just don't let this be a burden on you in a sense of it defining you.
Don't let the house come down.
Don't let the house come down over just one job. Let it actually be, realize that you've still got family, you got kids, you got an opportunity. If you're home, like I said, we did the YouTube channel thing. All the videos, I got one video, it's like 1 minute long. He's got 1 minute video, it's like 30 minutes long. And it's learning, but I let my kid do it, and I taught my kid how to do it. And then now I don't know how to do it. So just realize this is an opportunity to maybe grow your kids, grow your family. I talked to somebody this week, the perfect example, move. This sounds weird. If you feel like that you need to take a job in Oregon and you're in Oklahoma, or you're in Maine and you need to go to California, guess what? It's okay to move. Feel comfortable starting over in a new place, it may be, you may think that it's, it's a failure, it's a stumbling block, but it's not. It's an opportunity to grow again, start all over. I've literally sold everything in my house and started in less than 900 square foot apartment and just started all over again. And I'm not gonna lie, there was some pretty awesome moments of just, you didn't have the stress, you didn't have the high bills, you didn't have the, the swimming pool, or I never had a swimming pool, by the way, but whatever, you didn't have all of these other things, blurring your vision or image of where you're going to be, what you're going to do, and you can really focus. And it took that before I actually, started to do the school thing. That's when I finally got that opportunity to do it. So, and just was like, I just need to knuckle down and do it. So
talking about the school thing again, I think it's important to talk about where the industry's at, the jobs in the industry, and are the jobs forever changed, or will these jobs come back? And I think that recognizing, I read the articles, I don't pretend to be an expert in any of it, but I try to research what the experts are saying, and there's a lot of conversation that the industry may never come back to exactly where it is now. We may have seen our glory days. And
did you see the oil driller?
No.
It now has Tesla on his belt buckle.
Oh, I did see the picture of that. Yes.
Yeah,
the Tulsa has a 100-foot tall statue.
Yeah, the golden driller. It's been
decades.
Forever. 1919, I think.
And
it was honoring the oil and gas people that brought America
back. I
didn't
know if it was photoshopped.
No, I heard it's legit.
Okay.
And so another, and I'm sidetracking on you. Sorry.
That's all right.
But don't feel negative to go into a different industry. But yeah, I mean, like the golden driller, that was like the thing, and then now they're trying to get Tesla to come here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, at the end of the day, though, there's our foundation is not defined by the industry we're in. Our foundation is not defined by our income. Our foundation is defined by who we are, and don't limit yourself. Need to look just like in business, just like if it's a drilling operation. I know I keep going back to drilling analogies, but don't limit yourself to solutions that you've seen done before, or don't limit yourself to considering things that for a fact will work. You need to look at outside of the box. I'm a huge proponent of thinking outside of the box, and how does my specific situation work? Does this actually make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, fine, throw it out. Mm-hmm. But I would rather, I love sitting there and brainstorming and trying to find 100 ideas, and of those 100 ideas, 98 probably suck. Mm-hmm. And one is a maybe, and one actually comes out a bit pretty decent. So if oil and gas is still a good fit for you, that's great. But just try to keep the ego out of it. I'm a big data-driven person. So is this realistic for me, or is this a pipe dream? And that answer is not black and white either. I mean,
it's not. And we were talking about the selling of the cars and whatever else, realize that you may have to start at the bottom again. You may have to, like you were talking about the industry, will it come back? We hope so. We really, really want it to. But if it doesn't go into, somebody's mentioned on here, aviation, look at the aviation thing, look at the Tesla thing, Elon Musk. I'm just gonna say it. Elon Musk, if you want to come on, say hi to
Absolutely.
us. We're gonna promote you to come, because guess what? We have a ton of oil and gas guys that need jobs and work until this thing can come back. So you know what? We have some damn good guys that can do amazing work.
Let's talk about transferable skills.
Yeah.
That right there is the oil and gas industry. I think healthcare definitely qualifies as they have to make very quick decisions, and the repercussions of those decisions can have immediate consequences or benefits. But oil and gas specifically, there's a lot of very, very transferable skills. We have a ton of facets that we have to consider, whether it's the regulatory, the land, the completions, the production, tons of, we don't want to get people hurt. It's a very dangerous environment if we're not keeping a safe job site in mind. And so for those that haven't been within the oil and gas industry, there's so many different facets we're having to consider with each and every decision. And it's a very, very complex environment. And all of that leads to very transferable skills and understanding, here's the Rubik's Cube and how do the different factors play in? How do you weight them? What's the risk of a catastrophic issue versus a successful action? And so within the transferable skills, I'm going to get to my notes here a little bit, cheat a little bit. You got that?
Yeah.
We talked about the regulations and the dangerous work environment. We talked about how we have to weigh the balances. We talked about even just the work ethic that's required to be successful in this industry. And the challenge, the biggest challenge in my mind is going back to a resume and a little bit of outside of the box thinking, which is how do I completely and accurately communicate this with other industries? And I know that when I was laid off in 2015, I brushed up on my resume, and I was looking at it the other day. I date them, so I have versions of my resume. And I was looking
the 2008 one, the 2016 one.
I was laughing at myself because I realized on this resume that I had made for non-oil and gas industry. I ended up in manufacturing. So I made this resume for manufacturing industry, and I realized how much oil and gas lingo I had in there. And I was looking at it just the other day, laughing that anyone who's not familiar with drilling, intimately familiar with drilling, is going to have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. And tying it into whether it's getting an expert to look at this, or at a bare minimum, get someone who's not oil and gas to look at your resume if you're trying to get work outside of the oil and gas industry, because they don't care about scoop stack. They don't care about Permian. They don't care about P&A. They don't care. I mean, there's tons of things that don't make a lick of sense to anyone outside of the industry.
And don't forget Mid-Con, man. Come on.
Absolutely.
That's where we're at. We all know Mid-Con. That's our prime bread and butter. Come on now. Come on.
So anyway, recognize there's a ton of transferable skills. And I know I shared a post on LinkedIn recently where someone has Matt Harriman, I think, and if I got that name wrong, I do apologize. But I believe he is offering a podcast or some type of online webinar where you can learn about transitioning into the software and IT industry.
Oh, wow.
And so
which also uses oil and gas. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And Matt Hill, you just mentioned about it being vital. The whole Tesla thing, like what we were talking about, guess what? We're still going to need oil and gas. We're still going to need that.
Got to make electricity somehow.
You got to make it electric. They got to make the stuff from us anyway. So it's realize we are hugely vital in this industry. And anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Let's see. So we talked about prioritizing the situation, recognize your specifics, and there's certain sacrifices that will work for some and not others. And there's certain people who have another working spouse, or they have more income coming in. Entrepreneurship, there's a lot of discussions. I had a post on LinkedIn recently where I was offering to talk about people's business ideas, and met a lot of really amazing people, heard a lot of really amazing ideas. And I think that there were a few conversations I had where people almost felt a need to start a business because it was a step, or they've worked for this many years, they work for other businesses, and they're maybe a little upset about getting laid off. And I'm not going to work for the man anymore. I'm going to start my own business. And I am a business owner, and even through my business ownership of 5 years, I own interest in 7 states now. Several interests in several hundred wells, and it's across 7 states. It's still a part-time deal. And to be perfectly honest, I don't have a ton of interest in making that a full-time deal. There's other goals I have professionally and personally to grow, and it's not just about the money. It's not just about saying I've got a business. And so entrepreneurship is an amazing thing. There's a lot of value to it. It's not a great fit for everyone. If you have business ideas, you want to talk about it, I'm more than happy. Find me on LinkedIn, send me a message, and I'm happy to chat about it. I love brainstorming. I love bouncing ideas around.
Absolutely.
Are there any comments we'd like to?
Yeah, is there?
To?
Why don't we finish?
I see them coming across, but
yeah.
my eyesight's not quite good enough
I know.
to see all that.
Yeah, let's reach out. If there's any questions, anybody got any questions, we'll kind of wrap it up here. While we're waiting for some questions, Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Is this weekend.
Thank you.
So yes, we want to say thank you to all our troops, all our first responders, everybody that's helped out during this pandemic. If I had a glass, I'd cheers to you right now. There you go. Thank you guys very, very much. We do have another episode that's going to be coming out June 19th. We're going to be coming back to you as well, so you get to see this ugly mug. This guy looks better than I do. I just showed up. But the, let's see.
Scroll through any of those, find something that stands out.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I want to say thank you guys. You can see we already got the flag getting ready. Can you see it? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, getting the flag ready. It's getting the wrinkles out, getting ready to hang it up out front. So, but yeah, any questions we have? Anybody want to ask anything?
Find us on LinkedIn if you have ideas or you'd like to see specific topics or questions mentioned or referenced in the next podcast. We're happy to address those specifically, or if you want to just take it offline and get a more personal attention.
Yeah,
I'm happy to help out to the best of my ability.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shoot us a message on LinkedIn and we can bring it up when we come back on June 19th. So everybody is asking us to mention our companies again. So, and names. So Ken, K-E-N, and then Lavin is L-A-V as in Victory, I-N as in Nancy, on LinkedIn. And I am with Winter Mud. Here, I'll pull up a logo here. Is that?
There you go.
There you
Good
go.
job.
Winter Mud LLC.
It's backwards, you see?
It is backwards. Look at that. And then we also have our trucking with mud haulers. Here, I'll do it on this one too.
So I was telling Ken a story the other day when we were chatting. I was doing one of those interviews where you answer questions on video. And so it's not a person-to-person video interview that you just record yourself. And anyway, I was doing the testing and I realized that everything behind me had turned backwards. I had a whiteboard and I wrote equations, all these things to try to look like I was fancy and intentional and knew what I was doing. I had all these equations written on the whiteboard behind me. And when I'm doing the testing, I realized that it had turned everything backwards, just like what I saw on the screen with the Winter Mud.
Yeah.
And so since that was a testing environment, I erased everything and I painstakingly wrote everything backwards on the whiteboard behind me. Then when I went to do the actual video, I realized that the actual video had mirrored it back to where it was correct, which means what I had spent all those hours writing backwards was now actually backwards. So be willing to laugh at yourself. We do lots of fun things.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
So Dunn Energy, really the best place to reach me is LinkedIn. I do respond to messages on there, and you can find the transitioning to the software and IT industry post on there. There's a post on there. Happy to talk business ideas with people. I'm finishing up my MBA, so I have a true passion for business. I really enjoy it, and I'm happy to chat about it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, you think of anything else? We're going to go ahead and let y'all get on to your lunch hour. We hope you enjoyed your lunch hour with us. June 19th, we will be back. Hey, see if you can read that.
Is it backwards? Are they seeing it backwards? That's the question.
No, looks like they got that one. No, that one's, there you go. Make Oilfield great again. So, guys, it has been awesome. Michael, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Great
awesome.
Weekend. Be safe out there.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.